Welcome to AstroVenture, the DSLR astrophotography channel.
Hey there, AstroVentures, welcome back. If you're new to this astrophotography channel, my name is George and this is the astrophotography channel for DSLR and mirrorless camera bodies combined with the lenses we already own in a simple star tracker like the Skyguider Pro or the Star Adventurer. Now just recently we had the Perseids Meteor shower and I went out to photograph it. And I am going to walk you through the planning that I did and the editing and compositing of the Perseids Meteor shower. Now initially I scouted out my location, and this is here in northern Utah, and in this area, in the night sky up here, will be the radiant point of the Perseids Meteor shower. So I came out, decided the focal length that I was going to be shooting at, and in this particular case I want to say I was shooting at 24 millimeters, and I took this initial photo, and this is going to be the background wallpaper. This is in the golden hour with the sun setting, and like I said, I'm going to composite it all together. So first thing I'm doing is I'm going to go into the optics, and I am going to remove chromatic aberration, lens correction, and bring that in. Now, as this comes in, what I will be doing is bringing in a star field that has the radiant point for the Perseids Meteor showers, and I'll be bringing in two of the frames where I was able to capture some of the meteors coming in. Now the first thing I want to do is, because this was shot in the evening, you can see here I've got a bird flying through and I need to get rid of this. So I'm using the spot healing brush, which is J on your keyboard, and I'm going to come over here, I'm going to paint over this, and Photoshop clean that up for me. I hit the letter Z so I can zoom back out, or I can just hit fit screen. There we go. Now I'm going to hit Control J, and I'm going to do a quick little edit on this image. I'd like to make the blue a little bit darker and intensify some of the red in the grasses there. So I'm going to go Filter, Camera Raw, and I had initially duplicated this layer. I'm on layer 1, the background being my original, and I'm going to leave that alone. Okay, I'm going into Basic, and I'm going to 1. Bring the exposure down a little bit. I'm going to push the vibrance up a bit. Vibrance will do color saturation, but it tends to stay away from natural skin tones, and so that will allow this blue to darken up, and it will also allow the grasses to become a bit more red. And so there we go. Happy with that. I'm going to bring that in. Okay, next I'm going to bring in my star field that I'm going to be using, which has my radiant point. The way I had set up was I took the initial background photo, and then from there I shot meteorites through the night on my Skyguider, tracking through the radiant point through the night, and then from there I took an image at the end of the night directed at that radiant point again, just to get a nice clean shot later in the night as it got higher up. Okay, so this is the radiant point without any meteorites passing through. And so with this one, what I'm going to do is initially, my standard procedure would be I'd come in here, I'd hit the chromatic aberration to correct for that, and then I would hit the use profile correction. But in doing so, you can see it removed the vignetting, and it ended up brightening up the corner area, and this bright area here is coming from the lights below. So I'm going to shut off that lens correction. Now I do have that darkening at the corners. I'm going to jump over to the manual side, and I'm going to adjust that vignette just a little bit myself where I can see that it's not so strong, but it's not exactly lightening it either. Okay, and now I'm going to hit open, bring it in. Now, with this here, what I'm going to do next is hit Control A to select it all, Control C to copy. I'm going to go ahead and close that out. I don't need it any longer. And I'm going to come over here and go Control V to paste my star field on. Now what I need to do is I want to blend this in so that I have night on the top and I've got that golden hour look to the bottom. So I'm going to come down here, put a mask on this. I'm going to come over here to my paint bucket, which is the letter G, but I'm going to right click on this, open up the gradient tool. Okay, and I have a classic gradient here. I'm going to come down to the bottom, and then I'm going to left click hold, and I'm going to drag up. Okay, now I'm seeing that I'm not quite happy with it. I want to drag a little further up. I'm paying attention to exactly where my crosshair is to see how far I'd come up before. I need to come up higher, so I'm going to go Control Z to undo it. I'm going to come back down and I'm going to drag this up to about here. There we go. I'm liking that better. Now what I'm going to do is with this layer, and I'm going to rename this. This is my star field. Okay, I'm going to select the mask. I'm going to hit B for brush. I'm going to expand the brush out. I'm going to make sure that my brush is completely soft, so my hardness is at 0. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to start painting over this with the brush. Make it a little bigger. And what I'm doing is I'm getting rid of these stars that are showing up down here in the water, and I'm getting rid of them that are up there in the mountain. I'm going, or the mountain range. Do the same thing again here across. Now you can see this is getting a little bit too bright. So what I can do is I can click on layer 1, and I'm going to rename this. I'm going to try and be better about that. This is my background. And I am now, with that selected, I'm going to come down here to the bottom, and I am going to go into my brightness and contrast, and then I am going to bring this brightness down a little bit. So I'm darkening the background layer, okay, just to show you. I'll make a quick slide, okay. And so what I'm going to do is darken this down so it's not quite so bright. There we go, and I will close this. Now I'm coming back up to the star field mask. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to hit the letter Z for the magnifying glass so that I can get in closer. And now what I'm going to do is make sure that I don't have any stars showing up in my mountain. And you can see there's some stars showing up here. So I'm going to hit B for brush. I'm going to make the brush a bit smaller. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to start brushing over. Get these stars out of here. Nothing worse than a star showing up in the mountain. And then as I do this, if that causes it to be a bit too bright in the mountains, then again what I'll do is go back to the brightness and contrast and adjust that to take down the brightness of this background layer so that it's not, so conflicting. Okay, there we go. Not seeing any more stars in there. Go back to my magnifying glass, fit screen. There we go. I think I'm working with that. Now I'm going to come back over to my brightness and contrast. And I'm going to adjust this just a little bit. There we go. I'm happy with that. Okay, so this is brought together. This is a great point to go ahead and save the file. and I'm going to hit File, Save As, and I'm going to name this my Meteor image. And let's see here, Meteor Edit, the right spot. Let that save. Okay, I'm happy with what I have here between the star field being overlaid with the background layer with the water there. So what I'm going to do is press Control-Shift-Alt and then the letter E. Now what that's going to do is put a new layer on top with everything blended together, and I'm not going to be touching anything down here at the bottom at this point. Okay, so my layer 1 is my new background that I'm working with. New background. And this is where I will go ahead and start bringing in our meteors now and put them in. This image has the radiant point of the Perseids Meteor shower in it. And through the night, my sky guider was tracking, and I apologize, I'm waiting on the save. My sky guider was tracking through the night to be able to pick up the asteroids that were, or the meteors that were entering into the atmosphere. And so what I'm having to do is pull it all back and assemble it the way that I want, because originally this star field with the radiant point, I'm not going to be able to just keep it stationary all night and catch them in place. So you have to kind of composite. So here we go. We've got the new background. The save is done. Let's go over here and I'm going to open up my Meteor number 1. Bring that in. And then as Meteor 1 comes in here, I'm going to do an optical correction. We're going to select the Remove Chromatic Aberration, and then we're going to click on the profile correction for this lens. Now I'm going to go over here and I'm going to zoom in, and you can see how we've got this warping the stars. That happens because we're shooting at 24 millimeters. We're shooting wide, and at the corners it's always going to cause this stretching. But what I want to see is, did the profile correction worsen it or improve it? So I'm going to deselect it, and it looks like the correction is stretching it. So I'm not going to use the profile correction. Next, I'm going to go up here to the basic, and I'm going to zoom this back out so you can see the whole of the picture. I'm going to bump up the highlight, and I'm going to give it a little bit more black. I'm going to bump this highlight just a bit more, and I'm going to hit open. Okay, this will now come into Photoshop, and we're going to go ahead and do a quick bit of tweaking with the meteors. Now, as the meteors are shooting across the sky, and you're typically going to be shooting with a very wide lens, because you're grabbing so much sky and then compressing it down, it makes the meteor streak even thinner, and we want them to pop and show up a bit better. So what we're going to do is, we've brought the image in, and now we're going to come up here and we're going to go select, and we're going to go color range, and mine's already pre-selected at highlights because that's typically what I'm using it for. But if it wasn't, drop this down, go down to highlights, click highlights. Now you're going to play with your fuzziness and range. I'm going to slide this all the way over, and I'm going to show you here. So right now with this range, it's selecting everything. I'm going to stretch this out. Now what the fuzziness does is it's going to kind of gradient out as to how far it wants to pick up the more subtle parts. And so, and don't hesitate to go all the way. See what that looks like. I think it's a bit more than I want. Okay, here we go. And now I'm going to click OK. Now what's happened is, and you can see this moving, okay, it has selected this area. And what I'm going to do now is go up here to select. I'm going to go to modify, and I'm going to click on expand. Now because I said the wide lens is compressing this down, I'm going to expand the selection by 1 pixel just to make it a little bit bigger. Okay, there we go. I've done that. Now I'm going to hit Control D to deselect everything. Now I'm going to hit Control A to grab everything, Control C to copy it. I can go ahead and close this. I don't need to save the changes, and I'm back with my original image. I'm now going to hit Control V, and I'm going to paste this in. I am going to rename this Meteor 1 for this layer. Enter. And I'm going to take the fill and I'm going to reduce this down so that I can see the underlying image. Now, as I said, I was tracking and shooting the radiant point all night, and I'm reconstructing this image with the background that I want. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Edit, Transform, Rotate, and now I'm going to rotate this image so that this Perseids Meteor is coming out of the radiant point in the correct direction, because that radiant point moved throughout the night. And I'll put that right there. Excellent. Hit enter so it's there. I'm going to go ahead and take the fill back up to 100%. There we go, we're back up to 100%. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this. Okay. I'm going to put a mask on here. I'm going to hit the letter B, and I will adjust this brush to be just slightly bigger than the meteor. And I'm going to go to the front. I'm going to click one time. I'm going to come to the end, keeping a very straight line. Hold Shift, click again. It now masked over it. What I now want to do is hit Control I to invert our selection, which is allowing the underlying image to show through, but what we just masked, the meteor, to appear. Now what I want to do is, because if we zoom in up close, and I don't know how well it will show through, but there's a bit of dark just around this. Now I did a really good selection in making my brush no bigger than the meteor. But what I want to do is select the layer, select the actual image, not the mask, the actual image, come up here, change this normal to lighten, and any of that darker star field that came in with the meteor will go away. Okay, so that's Meteor 1. Now let's go ahead and open up Meteor 2. Let's see here, here's Meteor 2. We'll open this one up, and we're going to go through the same process with this one. Now, because I want to try and keep everything as uniform as I can, what I'm going to do is come up here, and I will hit 3 dots over here, and I am going to tell it to apply the previous settings, because the last time I was in Camera Raw was when I was editing Meteor 1, and I haven't been back into the Camera Raw again. So what I did is still there. I can tell it to apply previous settings. It will make the same tweaks that I did the first time, so that way everything still looks the same as we bring in the different images. I'm now going to click Open, and it will bring in that image, and we will bring in the meteor. Now there's also an aircraft passing through, and we won't keep that one. Okay, so here we go. This is an aircraft over here with the repeating lights. Okay, but we're going to come over here to the meteor. We're going to zoom in on this. Okay, we're going to go through the same process. So select color range, highlights. Okay, there it is. My fuzziness and range is the same. I'm happy with it. There's no need to change that, so I'm going to go ahead and click OK. It went ahead and selected it. I'm going to come back up here to select, modify, expand. I'm going to bump it up by 1 pixel. Hit OK. And then I'm going to hit Control D to deselect. I will now take it to fit screen. I'm going to go Control A to grab it all, Control C to copy. I can go ahead and close this layer. No, I don't need to save. I'm going to come over to our image, and I'm now going to press Control V, paste in our new meteor. Again, set the fill to 32 works great. I'm now going to come over here to Edit, Transform, Rotate, and I'm going to move this meteor to where I want and adjust the angle of it. There we go. And you would just keep repeating this process as you go, bringing in each one of your meteors. Now I'm going to take the fill back up to 100%. There we go. I'm going to zoom in here. Excellent. Okay, let's put that mask on there. B for brush. My brush is just barely bigger than my meteor. Left click once, come down to the end. This one has a nice color on it. And go Shift. Okay, and then left click. So it selected it. And then I'm going to come over here, select the image from the layer, come up here to normal, drop that down, set that. Oh, I apologize, let me back up. Missed one step here. So I just did that masking over the meteor, and now I need to hit Control I, invert that mask. There it is. Okay. Now, go back, click the image, drop the normal down, and select Lighten. There we go. Excellent. Now I'm going to hit Z, and we'll take a look at the whole of the image. Okay, and so here it is. I brought in two different meteors, different colors. They look absolutely beautiful, and I would just excuse me, let me try that again. I would just continue to repeat this process over and over and over as I bring in each one of the meteors. Now, as you do this, once you're happy with it, you'll want to look at flattening the image because this file is just going to continue to grow monstrous. So let's say we've done some, and I'm happy with this, and I'm happy with this. So I'm going to come up here, and what I'm going to do is from the star field up to this top meteor, I'm going to select all of those. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to merge these layers. They're all put together now. Now I'm going to go in here and I'm going to do a little bit of fixing, and this is getting into some little nitpicking areas. Let's zoom in on this one. Now, one of the things is you can see right here, this little star is showing up in our meteor. So what I'm going to end up doing with this is I'm going to hit S for stamp so I can clone, and I'm going to, let me see here, actually I'm going to hit Z and let's zoom in on this some more. And I'm going to get this cloned out of here. So I'm going to go S for stamp, make my brush a bit lower, smaller, I should say, not lower, smaller. I'm going to press Alt, set where I'm cloning from, come over here, and then I'm going to left click. Then I'm going to move over a little bit, left click. There we go. I'm going to come down here, same thing. And I'm going to move over, left click. There we go. Let me come down a little bit more, left click. There we go. We clean that up. And you could sit here and go through and remove any of those little imperfections like this one. I probably would fix this one too. But you can go through that whole process. This here, you can see this kind of variation that's happening when we're so zoomed in. That's again because of the fact that this was caught by the lens out at the edge where you have that curvature, so it kind of caused that separation in it. But at full size, full viewing, you just don't see it, so it works out well. Now, lastly, what I like to do with this image, and again, since it's a composite and you're creating, and it's a bit of being artistic, you can do what you want with it. I'll show you. I'm going to go ahead and take this and I'm going to go Control J. So I'm going to go down here to Layer 1. I'm going to label this Stars. And then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to label this one as Reflection. Okay. Enter. Okay. Now, with that reflection selected, what I'm now going to do is come over here to Edit and transform, and I'm going to go flip vertical. Okay, now it did not flip all of these, it just flipped this one. Okay, now I'm going to take this down, and I find 28% fill works really well for what I'm going to do. So there we are, and then what I'm going to do with this, put a mask on it. I'm going to hit G for my bucket, but I'm still on gradient, so I'm going to have to come over here, right click, paint bucket, fill the layer mask with black. Okay, now I'm going to hit B for brush. I'm going to make the brush large, and again it's still soft at the edges. I want to make sure that my brush is painting white, not black, so I'm going to hit X to flip those. And then what I'm going to do is where the water is here, I'm going to go ahead and paint in the stars reflecting over the water. Now, I've got stars showing up in my grass more than what I want, so I will go back to a black brush. So I'm going to hit X to flip it back to black, B for brush, and I'm going to come in here, and I'm just going to kind of paint over these grasses where I don't want the stars showing up. Slide this over a little bit. Let's see here. There we go. Then if I wanted to get really nitpicky, I could come in here, because we've got our meteor passing through the grasses. B for brush, get the brush down to a smaller size, and you can spend as much time as you want getting as accurate as you want with getting it in there. But that way there you have that reflection in the water. And again, this is an artistic thing at this point, because realistically you're creating a composite, so you do it the way you want. But this reflection you'll want to do at the end so that it's there, so that it has all of your meteors reflecting in the water. And then lastly, what I will do is come in here, I'm going to hit B for brush, I'm going to go to the black, have that selected, and I'm just going to follow this coastline just to make sure I didn't accidentally slip any stars into the land. There we go. Okay. And there you have it. That's how I make a composited image to put all of the meteors in, because realistically, if you want to have an image like this, it's just not going to happen with your original framing because of the moving in the sky. And even though you may have meteors coming in at 100 to 120 an hour, you got to keep in mind that's in every direction all around you, and the number that are actually visible or within your frame is not going to be a whole lot. So when I did my image, my final image is a composite, like I said, from pulling from like 900 images over the course of like 4 or 5 hours. And so it takes quite a bit. But there you have it, Perseids meteor shower, and this is how you can create your own image. So in the future, the next meteor shower, plan for that background image that you want to work with. Get out there, shoot that, keep the same focal length, same lens, same camera, so it all matches up. Throw that camera onto the tracker, start tracking across the sky, and then you can go ahead and construct your own image to capture the meteors. And then with that said, if you're trying to shoot out of the radiant point, which I did, which is somewhere in here, shooting the radiant point, you're going to see the least spectacular of the meteors because you're looking at where they came from. You get bigger and better streaks when you're looking to the sides or in the direction that they're going. You'll see bigger plumes coming off of the meteors than you do from the radiant points. So if you like what you see here, consider joining us over at our Facebook group, AstroVenture DSLR. Lots of like-minded people, and you can certainly ask questions there. And we also have our YouTube channel here that obviously you're watching, and we would love for you to like, subscribe, ring the bell, and share these videos out so that we can help grow the channel. Until next time, I wish you clear skies and uneventful nights.